The unapologetic voice, how speaking your truth transforms communities. Have you ever swallowed your words until they became a knot in your throat? That feeling when you know you should speak up, but something, fear, doubt, or the weight of potential consequences holds you back. I recently had the extraordinary privilege of interviewing Taneka Sawadogo, a visionary whose work has fundamentally transformed how Black women navigate professional spaces. Her insights weren't just enlightening, they were revolutionary. Taneka has spent the last decade dismantling barriers for Black women in corporate America, creating pathways where there were once walls, and igniting a movement that has empowered thousands to reclaim their voices. Her methodology has been adopted by Fortune 500 companies across 3 continents, and the ripple effects of her work have touched lives in ways that statistics simply cannot capture. What struck me most about my conversation with Taneka was her unwavering belief that when we speak our authentic truths, we don't just free ourselves, we create ripples that free others. The moment you decide your voice matters, she told me, is the moment you begin dismantling systems that were never designed for your success. Think about that for a moment. Your voice, yes, yours has the power to dismantle systems. But here's the uncomfortable truth many of us don't want to face: silence doesn't protect us, it never has. Silence only protects the status quo, the very systems that may be working against our advancement, our dignity, our humanity. When talented Black women are handed pink slips while underperforming colleagues receive golden parachutes, silence isn't neutrality, it's complicity. When we witness injustice but say nothing because we fear rocking the boat, we're not preserving peace, we're preserving pain. Letitia Clark understood this when she founded the Pink Parachute Diaries podcast. She saw a pattern that was both disturbing and familiar. Exceptionally qualified Black women being let go from positions while less qualified individuals continued to advance. But what made this situation even more devastating wasn't just the injustice itself, it was the isolation that followed. Each woman thought her struggle was unique. Each woman carried the weight of her experience alone, wondering what she had done wrong, questioning her worth, her abilities, her place in professional spaces. The silence around these experiences wasn't just deafening, it was damaging. So Letitia did something revolutionary in its simplicity. She created a platform where these stories could be told without censorship or apology, where experiences could be validated, where achievements could be celebrated, where isolation could be replaced with community. The result, a lifeline for listeners who suddenly realized they weren't alone, a catalyst for broader conversations about equity in workplaces, a source of hope and resilience for Black women professionals nationwide through the simple yet profound act of collective truth telling. This is what happens when one person decides their voice matters enough to break the silence. But using your voice isn't just about naming problems. It's about building bridges towards solutions. It's about creating spaces where more voices can join the conversation. The organizers of the Black X conference in Boston, while Black Summit, understood this deeply. They recognized that traditional professional frameworks often exclude or marginalize diverse talent, leaving even senior level professionals feeling disconnected and unsupported. Rather than continuing to knock on doors that remained stubbornly closed, they built new tables, spaces centered on belonging, mentorship, economic empowerment, and cultural celebration. Spaces where everyone has a seat and a voice in shaping future success models. The impact has been transformative. Participants report increased confidence in owning their narratives. Networks have expanded, leading directly to new business opportunities and collaborations. Cross city partnerships have formed. Local investment in rising leaders of color has increased. All because multiple someones, decided to use their voices not just to identify gaps, but to fill them. Not just to point out problems, but to create solutions. Not just to speak, but to build. This is what true leadership looks like. Not just achieving personal milestones, but creating opportunities for others. Not just climbing ladders, but extending them. Not just succeeding, but ensuring that success is accessible to those who come after you. As Tanika powerfully articulated during our interview, leadership is measured by how many people you lift as you rise. But let's be honest, using your voice, especially when it challenges established norms or power structures, isn't easy. It comes with risks. It invites scrutiny. It makes you visible in ways that can feel uncomfortable, even dangerous. Trying Davis knows this intimately through her work with organizations nationwide. She's witnessed firsthand how systemic barriers persist despite surface level efforts at diversity hiring, how racism remains prevalent in supposedly progressive spaces, how mental health suffers under the constant pressure to fit in rather than stand out. Her response wasn't to accept these realities, but to transform them by advocating for a shift from token inclusion toward fundamentally changing organizational culture through courageous conversations about race, power dynamics, and authenticity at work. The organizations that have adopted her approach have seen measurable improvements: better retention rates among employees of color, higher psychological safety scores, and perhaps most importantly, environments where difference becomes strength rather than liability. This is what happens when we use our voices not just for self expression, but for systemic transformation. When we speak not just to be heard, but to create change. But here's what I find most compelling about these stories: none of these women waited for permission to speak. None of them waited until they felt completely ready or until the perfect opportunity presented itself. None of them waited for someone else to hand them a microphone. They claimed their voices, they created their platforms, they built their tables. And in doing so, they didn't just change their own trajectories, they changed the landscape for countless others who would follow. This is the power of the unapologetic voice. Not a voice that shouts for the sake of being loud, but one that speaks truth with purpose and conviction. Not a voice that tears down, but one that builds up. Not a voice that divides, but one that connects. As Taneka emphasized throughout our conversation, your voice is not just your power, it's your responsibility, because someone somewhere is waiting to hear exactly what only you can say. I want you to sit with that for a moment. Someone somewhere, it's waiting to hear exactly what only you can say. Maybe it's a colleague who's experiencing the same challenges you've overcome. Maybe it's a mentee who needs to see someone who looks like them succeeding in spaces where they've been told they don't belong. Maybe it's an entire community that needs the bridge only you can build. But here's the catch: they can't hear you if you don't speak. They can't find you if you remain hidden. They can't follow your path if you don't blaze the trail. I'm reminded of a powerful quote from Audre Lorde that Taneka shared during our interview: "Your silence will not protect you." But she added something equally profound: "Your voice, however, just might save someone else." Think about that. Your voice might save someone else. It might save them from believing they're alone in their struggles. It might save them from thinking their dreams are impossible. It might save them from giving up just before their breakthrough. This is why speaking your truth isn't self indulgent, it's necessary, it isn't optional, it's essential. It isn't just about you, it's about all of us. Because when you use your voice to share your authentic experience, you create space for others to do the same. When you use your voice to challenge harmful norms, you make it safer for others to speak up too. When you use your voice to celebrate your achievements unapologetically, you give others permission to own their excellence without shame. This is how communities heal through collective truth telling. This is how cultures shift through persistent challenging of outdated narratives. This is how systems transform through the courage of individuals who refuse to be silenced. But transformation doesn't happen overnight. It happens voice by voice, story by story, bridge by bridge. It happens when Letitia creates a podcast that validates experiences previously dismissed. It happens when conference organizers build spaces where belonging isn't just a buzzword, but a lived reality. It happens when Trinene helps organizations move beyond token representation toward authentic inclusion. And it happens when you, yes, you decide that your voice matters enough to be heard. So here's my challenge to you. Stop waiting for the perfect moment to speak your truth. That moment doesn't exist. The world needs your voice now in all its imperfect, evolving, powerful glory. Tomorrow, I want you to identify one truth you've been holding back, one story you've been afraid to tell, one injustice you've witnessed but remained silent about. And I want you to share it with one person, with your team, with your community, or with the world, because your voice isn't just sound waves traveling through air. It's a force capable of shattering ceilings, opening doors, and building bridges where only chasms existed before. In a world determined to silence certain voices, particularly those of Black women, speaking your truth isn't just an act of self expression, it's an act of revolution. It's not just about being heard, it's about changing what's possible for everyone who comes after you. The systems that weren't built for us will never be transformed by our silence. They will only change when we refuse to be silent about their failures, when we unapologetically demand better, when we use our voices to create the spaces, opportunities, and realities we deserve. So speak up, speak out, speak truth, not tomorrow, not when you feel ready, not when it's comfortable, but now, today, in this moment, because somewhere, someone is waiting for the permission that only your voice can give them. Someone is waiting for the validation that only your story can provide. Someone is waiting for the path that only your courage can forge. Your voice isn't just powerful, it's necessary. And the world cannot become what it needs to be without it.